Welcome, everyone. This is Patrick Brophy, your co-program delivery partner for FTC SoCal. And I'm going to go over this proposal for a new tournament structure to begin next season. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the why behind this and what does it look like and answering some of the questions, and then opportunities for you to give feedback and offer assistance in making this work. So a little bit of the context here. This season, we had 177 teams that paid first. We had 6 interleague tournaments that led into our 1 championship. If you look at the historical numbers here, we're actually pretty good. We had 177 teams, but in 2020, right before the pandemic, we had 177 teams as well. So we're back up to those same numbers. And it's interesting when you compare it to the US overall FTC, they're down about 11% since 2020. So our regions kind of came back from where it was, and that's cool to see. So we use this information to kind of predict our future growth. What do we think we're going to see next year, and what could happen? And if you're looking at, well, maybe why is it going to grow? Parents are still looking for STEM activities, and this is a really good bang for your buck. You can get a lot of kids involved for not a lot of money, and you all want to come back. Like, teams keep coming back. Like, COVID didn't kill this program, and First is still marketing it, so it'll grow. But there are some challenges. The control systems this year was tough to get access to. There's other options out there with like VEX and drone competitions, and mentors. Sometimes people step away. Sometimes they leave the school or retire and not coming back. And there's looming economic uncertainty. Factoring those things in, we're kind of expecting a little bit of growth here, and there's excitement going into next season. So our current advancement structure, we had our 12 leagues that feed into our 6 interleague tournaments that led to our 1 championship. So if you're not familiar, we do league play where every team gets to compete at 4 league meets and then 1 interleague tournament. So you get your 5 matches, and then the highest priority advancements just from interleague tournaments go to that championship. So we like this structure because it gives us, we've done this since 2017, gives us a lot of opportunity to do more robot matches for teams to iterate on their robot design and get to improve it every week after you do those league meets. Better than way in the past. If you remember, before 2017, we had qualifying tournaments where you go to like 1 or 2 qualifiers, which were just like 1 ILT, and then you go to champs. So more play. But one of the downsides of this is, you only see 1 judged event guaranteed and 1 playoff round. So if you don't advance from the interleague tournament, that's like your only judging happens there. The only time you're in playoffs is there. So there's no chance to iterate on that part. And there's limited spots going into championship. This season, 23% of our registered teams were in our 42 team championship. And that number doesn't necessarily stay the same. It's been more. It should be less if we do 1 division. So if we keep that current structure, we're going to have a smaller percent of teams advancing to that 2nd level. As you get more teams in there and more ILTs, you're going to have a fewer advance to a limited championship size. And our system relied on ILTs to be generous hosts. We're all volunteers in the planning committee, folks. I got a day job. I work full time. Most of us work full time or are retired, but like pretty much everyone's working, and they're busy and they have their other stuff going on here. We are volunteers, but we like doing this, and we rely on a lot of volunteers to get this done. But it's tough. The ILTs are awesome hosts and have provided that without much compensation at all. And a lot of times we rely on key volunteers to keep attending the same ILTs because, hey, we're short on refs on a Sunday, so can you bring the whole family over here? And as we add more of these events and we try not to do them on the same day, we're going to have stress because we're going to run out of weekends or we're going to do more back-to-backs. And it puts a load of stress on those volunteers that keep showing up and have to drive across the LA area to go to a ILT on the other side of town. So those are struggles we'll have to deal with. When regions get to our size, other regions in this country have gotten to this like 160 plus teams. And here's some things they've looked at, like going to super leagues, where instead of splitting leagues off, they have these super leagues where they stagger teams. Everyone still gets 4 plays. It's a way to help with growth. Sometimes you add your Super QTs between the ILTs and championships as another round of advancement. So we're not squeezing so many in just to a champs. And then you put more responsibility on an event host. Like, One of the regions was like, yeah, just 2 leagues. We tell them to go meet up and do an ILT, and the planning committee doesn't happen, or the program delivery partner doesn't micromanage it. So looking at all this, what are the goals for this region? One of those things is, can we get a higher percent of teams advancing to that second level? As we looked last season, it was 6 or 7 teams per ILT. And can we get more opportunities for teams? Maybe that you win awards. Like part of this is, hey, if you win an award in that ILT level, you should get another shot at going to the next level, and another shot at judging, because you've proven something. So how can we get more of those teams? So it's not just, I have to win Inspire or be on the winning alliance in advance. So, and what can we do that can put more of that on responsibility on the local volunteers or the local hosts, and also offer them some kind of compensation? And how can we scale this? Because what can we do so it's not relying on people having to travel so far and attend so many events, which we greatly appreciate, but it's a lot. So here's what we want to do. Add Super QTs. So what does this look like? Let's say this year we had 12. Let's say we had 14 leagues next year, and it goes to 7 ILTs, and maybe you double those up, go to 3 Super QTs, and then advances to that 1 championship. So 2 leagues to the ILTs, and about 2 leagues to the 2 ILTs to the Super QT, and then to champs. But so what does this look like for a number of teams? So let's say you have a region about our size right now. You can have your leagues of 12 to 16 or so, and then everyone advances to ILTs that are around 30 people, and then you advance about 13 each to your supers to make it about 30 teams per super, and then let's say if 12 go each, you have 36 out of champs, but to be determined on those numbers. So that's what it could look like. Those are ILTs, and the supers are similar to what we've seen right now with our ILT size, so we know we can handle those. You might look at that and go, what about that odd ILT down here, like that 7th one? Yeah, you get to these numbers where they don't split evenly. And what we could do with this kind of structure is you can take that ILT and split it up between the QTs. I mean, that's not always pretty, but we can. It's going to be an art, folks, and it kind of depends on the size of the leagues and the size of these ILTs. But there's ways we can split these up and divide them between Super QTs. But consider things like not splitting up a school, right? Got to keep teams so they don't have to get 2 buses. What does this advancement plan look like? So we said before, want everyone to advance. So from the ILTs, the winning alliance, the finalist alliance, and every award winner should advance. And we also, if you look down this list, potentially 16 advancements, but there's going to be double ups. And the other part is the ILT host gets to advance 1 team. When we had qualifying tournaments, the host of those tournaments got to advance a team to the championships for each QT. And part of this is you're doing some work. You're going to be expected to do more than what's been done for ILTs, because we're putting that on you. But part of that compensation is one of your teams gets to automatically advance to the Super QT level, just to that level, not champs. Now, from the Super QTs, same advancement structure. I just don't know how many will go down. I'm not going to promise that every award winner goes. It just kind of depends on our capacity. But at least for the ILT level, if you win Design Award, you should advance the Super QTs. Now, who's going to run these? Leagues will be just like right now, but your ILTs, we're looking at the hosts, and the hosts, not the planning committee. Now, so they're going to be responsible for making sure the volunteers are all there, and you're just responsible for your host site and making sure things are set up. So it's more responsibility in the host, but you are earning that auto advancement for one of your teams. And Super QTs and champs, we'll keep it like it right ILTs right now, where the committee kind of runs those, and so we're not relying on another team to do that. Where are these events going to be located? Right now we had our 12 leagues. Red dots are roughly where they were, but we had one out here, I think one more. But we're talking about maybe there's another league out there in Antelope Valley again, Orange County, maybe a second league, or LA area. It kind of really depends on the need. It's hard to predict where teams are and where the right places for leagues are. ILTs to be determined, but survey to come. And the Super QTs to be determined as well, but we're looking, see if we can be more creative with this, or if there's opportunities for colleges or, high school with FRC people. There we go. So maybe we can make that work again because that worked out really nice. And maybe the Super QTs are back-to-backs. I would say your ILTs are probably going to be one-offs right here, no back-to-backs. But your Super QTs, you could include a back-to-back. Now, when are the events? So a big thing to make this work with another level is we have to squeeze this a little. Our March event first wants us to do champs the first weekend, not second weekend of March. So that squeezes everything else up. And the best way to make this work would be, can we finish leagues by the end of December? Can you do your 4 league meets end of December? You could start earlier, like late October, even I think mid-October. And can we fit those all in? If we can make that work, then we can do the ILTs in January and then February for Super QT, something like this. The great thing, if we split this up with ILTs, they can be on the same day. Sometimes we've had conflicts where 2 school sites want the same day. But the idea if we're doing all these ILTs is they can be on the same day. They shouldn't need, we shouldn't have to do one-offs. What does this cost? This is all up in the air. One feedback we had early on is, hey, it would be a little annoying to have to pay 3 times for your league, for your Super QT, and championships, especially for schools. So maybe there's like 2 payments in there somewhere to afford this. And I don't count on these numbers being the same. These have been the numbers since 2017, and I don't know what that looks like with the cost of things nowadays. So, but ideally, we're down to 2 payments, not 3. What are the responsibilities? So this is going to evolve, but basic idea is you got to find your host site. You got to be responsible setting up and tearing down, and you got to be responsible for finding those volunteers. Now, there's going to be some key positions we'll get to, but I want you're as a host, you're finding those volunteers. You're figuring out your layout. You have your host site all nailed down, and you have the crew to help set it up and tear it down. How do you get those volunteers? So they should still come from the leagues. We've asked volunteers to come from leagues and hit or miss sometimes, but this is your responsibility. You know who your 2 leagues are. Maybe it's one of your own leagues and the other league. You contact them and get those volunteers. Like, hey, support the ILT over here too. You can also, some of those key roles will be managed by the planning committee. We talked about like judge advisor and providing enough veteran judges to help you out. Like, you're not responsible for finding 12 judges. I know that can really be a struggle, especially, but there'll be enough veterans in there, and maybe some of these other key roles will help out with, but a lot of the other roles, no, pull from the leagues and then find other places to recruit from. So where do you recruit? Well, a lot of times it's just kids at your school, volunteer clubs, key clubs, other robotics or STEM programs. Kids just need hours, and you need a field reset or set up and tear down. You offer free lunch, kids will show up. Sometimes your network from your team, your alumni, parents, mentors, family, and friends. If you have local colleges or businesses, sometimes they're really into STEM, focusing on this kind of stuff. There's volunteer groups. There's websites like Volunteer Match. We've posted ILTs before, and we have had volunteers come, random people that were cool to come in and be judges because they just moved to town and they were looking for something to do, and they've been great. So these are suggestions that a lot of this comes down to how do you recruit like your region, your local community. If I'm up here in Palmdale, if I had to recruit and I'm at this first, I'm going to recruit from the school to fill in all the school jobs because I know kids need volunteer hours for college stuff or whatever volunteer recognition they do. I know my local community college out here, Antelope Valley College. I'm also going to hit up work and send it to all the Lockheed Martin volunteer groups and pull people there. And also the other big businesses out here, like Northrop Grumman, Edwards, or NASA, or whatever. But I know my community. Your community, and you know some places that you can hit up to find those volunteers. Now, the region's going to provide something, right? So we want to provide the equipment. So we'll have the fields. We'll send a pod. I don't know if it'll be that big pod, but it's going to send everything you need for that equipment to set up that event. So you have the fields. You don't have to provide that. You get the trophies. We'll provide all that. And some kind of compensation for volunteer food and your other costs. I don't know what that looks like. My perfect world right now is I just write you a check of some kind, and then you say, hey, you just better figure out your costs and your food, and whatever you don't spend, you keep. That's what some regions do. They just they'll just write a check with a proportional number of teams, and then there you go. So somewhere where those costs are covered. So TLDR, we're going to supers. If this proposal goes through, we go to supers. We want more advancement slots and more ownership by the local hosts for the ILTs that can find those local volunteers and then hopefully turn into volunteers for the higher levels. And they keep coming back year after year. The league's probably pushing that up to be completed before the Christmas time, the winter break. And that will give us room for the Super QTs and the ILTs and our championship. So that's it, folks. There'll be a survey, and please provide feedback, anything that you think, any questions that you have or comments, or if you love this or hate it for whatever reasons, go out there. We're looking for something else to do. We're looking for a way to make this work. We're looking for a way to get more opportunities for teams and students to see that level of competition and getting more people excited and volunteering this. This is a great program. I've been doing this for like 12 years since I started teaching, like back in the day. And a lot of us have been volunteering for double-digit years and are still sticking around with this. And it really takes a community of people that want to help and want to make these events happen for kids. It's a good program to support. And thank you if you got to this point of this video and you're still watching me. That's crazy. But look at that survey, ask around. If you are interested in hosting, please fill that out. And thank you.